بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We thank Allah for giving us tawfiq to continue, and we start our fifth session, and this is again about chapter 4 of the first section. We were talking about asaalat al-wujud, primordiality of existence, and mentioned already some arguments. The next argument is based on the fact that we see mahiyya or quiddity, sometimes it is in our mind only, and sometimes it is outside. For example, you think of fire. Sometimes fire in his mind, sometimes it's outside. When fire is in mind, has no effects. When it is outside, has effect. The fire outside burns, gives warmth, light. The fire inside mind has no effect. But both of them are fire. So mahiyya is the same. It's not that the fire in mind is not the fire. Yeah. So why fire sometimes has effect and sometimes has no effect? The answer is because what really causes the effects is wujud, is existence. It is existence that makes something real, brings all the athar, all the effects. And mahiyya, when it is with wujud, because of wujud, you think mahiyya has effects. Otherwise, mahiyya is by itself making no difference, has no impact, no effect. So, al-mahiyyatu توجد بوجود خارجي فتترتب عليها آثارها وتوجد بعينها بوجود ذهني فلا يترتب عليها شيء من تلك الآثار. Mahiyya sometimes is available, exists with its external existence, so its effects are there. Any mahiyya has fire is like warmth, light. For example, you have ice. Its effect is cold, it's wet. Anything, if you have a rose flower, it has some fragrance, it has soft touch. Any mahiyya, when exists with its external objective existence, athar, its effects are there. But sometimes the same mahiyya exists with mental existence. Inshallah, we will have a section about the distinction between external existence and mental existence, wujud zihni and wujud khariji. So the same mahiyya, when it exists with mental existence, has no effect. So if it was not that wujud is the one which is primordial, the one which is really making the difference, bringing all the effects, and mahiyya was the real one, you could not explain the difference. Yeah? So if mahiyya was the reason for having effects, mahiyya is there in zihn as well. Because we say the same fire, we want to think about it. Yeah? When you think about fire, you don't think about something else. So we can understand then that mahiyya is not the cause for the effects. Mahiyya has no reality by itself. Mahiya can be existing outside, can be existing in our mind. Therefore, Mahiya is neutral. By itself is having no impact. This next argument. You know, when you have beings outside, in the real world, in the objective external world, you see some qualities in beings. Some, for example, are strong, some are weak, some precede others, some are bil-fail, some are bil-quwwa, actual, potential. So, wujud outside has different conditions, different degrees, different intensity. Okay? But Mahiya is neutral. Mahiya is only a fixed kind of concept. In Mahiya, for example, Mahiya of insan, there is nothing about being young or old, being first or second. It's just Mahiya. So, when we see in the real world there are differences among individuals of the same type, the same Mahiya, there are differences. So, those differences are because of wujud, not because of Mahiya. Look at argument. Yes.
When we say Mahiya for insan,
yeah.
no difference between woman and man?
No. Because both of them have the same Mahiya. They are both human beings. Al-Mahiya min haythu hiya tastawi nisbatuha ila taqaddum wa ta'akhur. Mahiya as such means if you just focus on Mahiya without anything else, just focus on Mahiya. Mahiya as such has equal relation to being before or after. We had this in previous book, and inshallah we will have a section here about taqaddum and ta'akhur. You remember we said there are many different types of taqaddum and ta'akhur. Taqaddum bil-'illiyya, taqaddum bil-dhat, all taqaddum bil-tajawhur, taqaddum in zaman. So, Mahiya has equal relation. With respect to what comes first or later, shadda wa dha'f, strength and weakness, intensity, quwwa and fail, potentiality and actuality. لكن الأمور الموجودة في الخارج مختلفة في هذه الأوصاف. But the things that we have outside in real world are different. Some are stronger than the others. Some precede the others. Some are, for example, you look at a child and say this child, for example, a boy, you say this is a potentially a man. Then the potentiality increases when the child grows. So, لكن الأمور الموجودة في الخارج مختلفة في هذه الأوصاف. But those things that exist outside are different in these conditions. فبعضها متقدم أو قوي كالعلة. Some are stronger or come first, like cause. Cause is stronger than ma'lul. Cause precedes ma'lul. وبعضها بخلاف ذلك. And some of them are not that strong and they don't precede, like ma'lul, the effect. Some are بالقوة, some are بالفعل. Had it not been that wujud is primordial and all these differences go back to wujud, we had difficulty because Mahiya is equal to all of them. Mahiya is متساوية النسبة. The conclusion is that it cannot be from Mahiya. If it was from Mahiya, it has to be equal but we see in the real world that there are differences, so our first assumption that it is from Mahiyya, it's wrong. It's like khulf. If it is Mahiyya is asil, all these differences should disappear. But we see there are differences, so Mahiyya is not asil. Yes.
Sorry, so going back to the point that you mentioned, taqaddum, ta'akhur, shidda, dha'f, quwwa, fi'l, Mahiyya is would be equal in all of these cases. It will be the wujud which is different, the intensity, etc.
Yeah.
But when the wujud has a different intensity, okay, or it has a high degree of existence, wouldn't that will make it another existence? Therefore, the chisti or the haddu shay, the Mahiyya, will also be different. So why are we saying here it will be the same, even if it has different degrees or different intensity or lower than?
Something that we should always remember and helps a lot, even in the discussion about tashkik, is that Mahiyya does not admit intensity. Mahiyya either is there or is not there. You cannot say this is more horse than the other. Either it is horse or not. Yeah? There is no way to have intensity in Mahiyya.
Okay, so the Mahiyya in the horse, so the taqaddum, ta'akhur, dha'f, and quwwa in the horse is equal.
Yeah. Even if it comes to, for example, horse and insect, you cannot say Mahiyya of horse is stronger than Mahiyya of insect.
But they're different. The Mahiyya is different.
They are different. They are just different. Because there is no way of comparing them. Each Mahiyya, it's like a border for existence, and Mahiyat as such are just different from each other. Yes.
Mahiyya is really the concept, isn't it?
Is a kind of concept. Because wujud is also a concept here. But the question is, which of these two concepts are the ones that primarily refer to the reality? So both of them can be applied to something which exists outside, but which of them precedes? The concept of wujud or the concept of Mahiyya?
If you say Mahiyya is a concept in the mind, that they explain it better, or is it...
No, all concepts are in mind.
Huh?
All concepts are in mind.
Yes.
But the thing is that what this concept refers to, is it the main one, or what the concept of existence refers to is the main one? Okay, so each concept has a point of reference. They refer to something. The question is, Mahiyya refers to the reality and wujud is accidental, or concept of wujud refers to the reality and Mahiyya is accidental? There are also other arguments. So Ayatollah Allama Tabatabai says, هناك حجج أخرى مذكورة في المطولات. There are more arguments. We have already mentioned few arguments here, but there are more. Those who believe in asalatul mahiyya, they also have tried to bring some arguments. We mentioned one argument, and actually this argument is more a linguistic point, not a philosophical point. They say if wujud was asil, it means that we could say al-wujudu mawjudun. And this is a problem. Because if we say al-wujudu mawjudun, means wujud is something which has wujud. Because al-mawjud means shay'un lahul wujud. So if wujud is mawjud, it means wujud is shay'un lahul wujud, something which has existence. Then what is that existence? Is that also real or not? It must be real. So that is also shay'un lahul wujud. And then that wujud also shay'un lahul wujud. So this will never finish. This will go endlessly with tasalsul. So it means that we cannot say al-wujudu mawjudun. We cannot say wujud is real. It is mahiyya which is real. But as I said, this is not a philosophical argument. This is about the way language is used. If you want to say wujud is real, you should not be concerned about the language. So even if we accept that mawjud means shay'un lahul wujud, we can say this is different from al-wujudu mawjudun. When we say al-wujudu mawjudun, we don't mean shay'un lahul wujud. When we say al-wujudu mawjudun, means al-wujudu mawjudun bizatih. Yeah? We must have a term. If you don't have it, we create it. We do it in majazi. If you want to say something is by itself in possession of that quality, if language doesn't permit, that's the problem, limitation of language. For example, abyad. What does abyad mean? White. If you say abyad means shay'un lahul bayad, something which has whiteness, then we have problem in saying al-bayadu abyad. You cannot say whiteness is white. While we know that actually whiteness is white more than anything else which is white. Don't say this is not the usage of the term abyad, because we are not concerned about the language. We want to say, is whiteness white or not? Yes, of course, whiteness is white. Actually, whiteness is essentially white. Other things become white because of having whiteness. Then whiteness must be white. Yeah? Or when you say, for example, sugar is sweet. Okay, other things become sweet because of sugar, but sugar is sweet by itself. It's not that it's something that the taste of sweetness comes to it. So, wujud is real. If you don't have any term to say wujud is real, that's the problem of language. Of course, even in Arabic, maybe we don't have problem. Maybe mujud can mean both. Shay'un lahul wujud or al-wujudu bizatih. But even if there is a problem, that's the limitation of the language. Because language is mostly made by, using of mahiyat. You remember I told you, in our mind, mahiyat is easily understood. Haji Sabzawari said, إن الوجود عارض الماهية تصورا واتحد هوية. In tasawwur, in your conception, you first think of mahiyya and then existence. This is why you say al-farasu mawjudun. Because we understand faras first, and then we say faras has reality. If we were going to be really philosophical, we have to say this wujud is faras, instead of saying al-farasu mawjudun. So our mind is used to concepts more than using wujud. But this is not making a big difference. So, al-wujudu mawjudun bizatih. Yes?
If we're saying that the mahiyya and the wujud, they're just mental constructs that we use to understand them, what's the practical implication of distinguishing between which one is asil? What kind of practical implication it has?
So we want to see which one is real. Because if mahiyya was real, then we would have problem in explaining many, many things. We could not explain why something sometimes exists in mind and has no effect, and exists outside has effect, why there is intensity, why there is, precedence, all these things. Mahiyya is equal to existence and non-existence. How can then mahiyya be real by itself? If you see mahiyya as real, must be because of something else, because in itself is neutral.
Sorry, just one point about the example you gave, and I think you mentioned it in the previous session as well, about al-farasu mawjudun, for example, in mind.
Yeah.
If we are dealing with the Mahiyya first because we say faras and then we say Hikmah. But the point that we are saying this isn't that it's not the Mahiyya that comes to mind, it's the existence, but it's a mental existence.
No, this is actually another proof for asaalat al-wujud. That even when you are thinking about Mahiyya in mind, it has to have mental existence. So even in your mind, you have to give a kind of existence to it, so that even you can think of it. But that existence is wujud al-dhihni. It's not really, any image in the mind, any concept in the mind has to exist, but not the same existence that Mahiyya should have. Yeah? These are two separate things. Like, for example, you have image of a human being on a paper, or you have image of human being on existence. Okay, so image by itself can never exist. Either it has to be on a paper or on existence. So image can be in my mind. So that image borrows a quality of the soul. That's kayf nafsani. That's not a human being. So Mahiyya can never exist by itself.
It borrows from soul. What do you mean by that?
It means that our nafs has the ability to give a kind of platform, a kind of ground for Mahiyat. Because Mahiyat cannot exist independently. Either they exist outside with existence, or if we want to think them, we have to give them existence, but wujud zihni, mental existence. Okay? Yes.
Sorry, just before we go to the asaalat al-Mahiyya, can we?
In other words, if there is insan, that insan is either outside or in someone's mind. We cannot have insan without being outside and without being in someone's mind. Do you understand? Yes.
Just, when I think about going through these 4 points about, the proofs of asaalat al-wujud, can we not just, when I think about it, I think that, so Mahiyya in its definition is, the definition, the had, what defines something. And here we're saying wujud. So by definition itself, there needs to be something, there needs to be, i.e. existence, wujud, needs to be there for Mahiyya to define it, to put limits to it.
Yeah.
So isn't that a simple way of explaining that? If there was nothing, then what is Mahiyya capturing? What is Mahiyya,
Yeah, so actually we believe that it is badihi, but these arguments are just to help people who may find it difficult. Otherwise, if you really understand what is wujud, what is Mahiyya, you don't need arguments. It's very obvious that Mahiyya cannot be asil.
Then if it's that obvious, and I know you mentioned that, it's just, recently, many years ago, this concept, the question wasn't there.
Yes, before Mullah Sadra, this was not explicitly discussed.
If it's just evident, then how come, for example, even now we have philosophers who believe in asaalat al-Mahiyya, or we mentioned that, for example, Sheikh Ashraf, we think, although the question wasn't raised by him, but we think based on what he's written, he would probably gone with that. If it's that much of a simple, evident discussion, then why do we have still philosophers now? They go to this direction.
So they don't agree with this, because sometimes something can be for us obvious, but someone else may say, no, it is not obvious. Like, for example, we say it's impossible to have two contradictory things together. yeah, tanaqud is impossible. But in some philosophies, like in Marxism, they were using this as one of their principles, that there can be contradiction.
What example will you give?
Pardon?
What example will you give?
Because they say everything has an opposite. And then, this is from Hegel, thèse and antithèse. But we say this is not really tanaqus. So sometimes because of some shubahat, because of some, ambiguity, even something which is obvious, maybe people find it difficult. This is therefore why we try to also bring arguments, so that if someone doesn't find it obvious, these arguments can help. Yes.
When you say the mahiyya not asil,
Yes.
cannot be asil, does it mean that the wujud is asil
Yes.
and the mahiyya
Yes.
independent?
One of them has to be asil. They both cannot be asil, and one at least must be asil. So the question is, which one is asil? We say wujud is asil. Yeah.
I can't understand why certain just the Mullah Sadr's views were not discovered earlier. I can't understand it. They're so obvious.
Yeah. Sometimes things, because they're obvious, they're not discussed. Sometimes people need to question something so that we realize that this is an issue. It becomes an issue. There is an opinion that is by Muhaqqiq Dawani. You remember Muhaqqiq Dawani? We mentioned him once about ishtirak ma'nawi of wujud. He had the idea that wujud is mushtarak lafzi between wajib and mumkin. It has two meanings. When wujud is used for wajib means something, when wujud is used for mumkinat means something else. We rejected that idea. We said wujud all the time has one meaning. Realities are different, but meaning is one. Another opinion that he has, he was more a kind of mutakallim than a philosopher. Another opinion he has is that he believes that in wajib wujud is asil, but in mumkinat mahiyya is asil.
Who said that?
Pardon?
Who said that?
Al-Muhaqqiq al-Dawani. So he has this idea. Allah Tabatabai says, يظهر مما تقدم ضعف قول آخر في المسألة منسوب إلى المحقق الدواني. From what we have said about asaalat al-wujud and rejecting the idea of ishraqiyun about asaalat al-mahiyya, you realize that another opinion is also weak, which is proposed by Muhaqqiq al-Dawani, because although in wujud for God he is close to us, but in mumkinat he believes in asaalat al-mahiyya. And actually the question of mahiyya is for mumkinat, because in God we don't have mahiyya as such. So in the whole world of mumkinat, which was the question of asaalat al-wujud or asaalat al-mahiyya, he believes that mahiyya is asil. هو أصالة الوجود في الواجب تعالى وأصالة الماهية في الممكنات. Based on his idea, when we say God exists, God is mawjood, it means that God is mawjood essentially. Mawjoodun bidhatih. There is no mahiyya which has wujud. Because you remember, we said God has no mahiyya in the normal sense. If we say God has mahiyya, that's another meaning of mahiyya. Because, inshallah we will discuss this later. Mahiyya sometimes is used in the sense of ma bihishay huwa huwa. What is making the reality, the identity of something. Then in that case, mahiyya and wujud in God are the same. Al-haqqu mahiyyatuhu in niyyatuh. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his mahiyya and his wujud are the same. That's another sense of mahiyya. So, he is mawjud bizatihi. But, when it comes to mahiyat, his idea was that when we say mahiyat are mawjud, it means that they have a relation with wujud. Like in Arabic, they say labin, tamir. If someone is, for example, selling milk or dates, they say, labin, tamir. Labin is not the one who is a milker, it's not ism fa'il. Because laban is not an action, it's not a verb. Yeah, laban means lahu nisbatun ma'al laban. Tamir yani lahu nisbatun ma'al tamr, date. So Muhaqqiq al-Dawani had the idea that when we say for mahiyat they have wujud, it means they have relation with wujud. In any case, this idea is wrong, and the arguments we said before are enough to prove this, because in mahiyat, which are for mumkinat, as we said, mahiyya is equal to existence and non-existence. Mahiyya can have no effect, mahiyya can have no intensity or weakness, and all the things that we see are outside are different from mahiyya. So it must be wujud, not mahiyya.
Can I ask your idea on this? You see, when a baby first starts seeing a face, she sees the image of the mother's face.
Yeah.
That becomes clear. So a wujud is first. It's quite obvious.
Yeah.
Right from the childhood.
Yeah.
Mahiyya is next up.
Yeah.
Then everything is related with the mother.
Yeah.
Am I right?
So yes, so the child sees something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mahiyya.
But the child sees a reality that has some definition, some whatness. But the reality is there.
Yes.
You cannot have whatness without reality.
Indeed.
Yes.
Asad.
You're welcome.
I just got the confirmation from you. Asad.
Excellent. So, Alhamdulillah, this chapter is finished. Now we go to the next chapter. And this chapter, chapter 5, is about another pillar of al-Hikmah al-Muta'aliyah. We said Mullah Sadra's philosophy is based on few pillars. One was اشتراك معنوي وجود. One was asaalat al-wujud, we just finished. The other one is في أن الوجود حقيقة واحدة مشككة. Wujud is a reality which is single and has grades. It's graded. Okay? This question is very, very important. Let's see why philosophers are dealing with this question. Philosophers want to explain the world in a very general way. They are not dealing with small things, but in a general way. The question is, we see lots of differences. We see diversity. We see kathra, multiplicity. We have animals, we have insects, we have flowers, we have non-living beings, we have human beings. Even in animals, we have many types of animals, many types of insects. There is great diversity. Now we have to explain this diversity. Okay? Some philosophers had the idea that we have very different, distinct realities which have nothing in common. Masha'un, because they believed in asalatul wujud. So they said they are all being, but these beings have nothing in common. Why? Because as you know, and inshallah we will discuss later, wujud is basit. Wujud is not like mahiyya that you can analyze it into jins and fasl. You can say, we have maqulat 10 categories and then make a combination of these categories and analyze mahiyya. Wujud is basit. Wujud is without parts. And wujud is not part of anything. Because if wujud has parts, what are those things which are part of wujud? Or what is something that wujud can be mixed with it? Wujud has no part and does not become part of anything. Okay, wujud is basit. So, please understand why Masha'in thought they are all mutabayan, they are all distinct. Because wujud is basit. When two simple things differ, it means that they differ entirely. When two compound things differ, it can be because they are totally different, or maybe they differ partially. Yeah? For example, we and animals differ. But do we differ entirely? No. We are the same in being animal, but we are haywan and natiq, they are other types of animals. Or we differ from flower, but not completely. We are both jism nami, but we are hassas mutaharrik bil irada natiq, they are not hassas mutaharrik bil irada natiq. Okay? So, when two things are compound, are murakkab, and they differ, they can differ because they are completely different, like a kaf and a kam. For example, sweetness and triangle. They are completely different because they belong to two different categories. But we and animals differ not 100%. Okay? So two compound beings can differ, like even in chemicals. Sometimes you put different elements together, make different compound. Sometimes some elements are the same, some are different. Yeah? Even food is the same. Sometimes there are two foods, totally ingredients are different. Sometimes some ingredients are the same. But when two simple things differ, basit, then they differ completely. You cannot say there is something in common between them. So, Masha'un, because they had the idea of asalatul wujud, and because wujud is basit, so then they said, all these different realities that we have are totally different from each other. They are completely different from each other. حقائق متباينة. They are totally distinct realities. Okay? This is the idea of Mashai. But Ishraqiyun, and also they say ancient Iranian philosophers, al-Fahlaviyun, Hukama'ul Furs, the ancient Iranian philosophers, because Ishraqiyun used many of their ideas, accepted many of the ideas of the ancient Iranian philosophers. Unfortunately, in the books of history, normally history starts in the West. As if no one else had any experience of philosophy. Everything starts from Greece. But philosophy existed in different parts of the world. Okay? So, in ancient Persia, there were philosophers who had the idea that diversity is because of different grades, different levels of the same thing. So there is one thing in common, but different degrees of what that common thing is. And the example they had was light. You know, you have light of a candle. You have light of a lamp. You have a light of moon. You have light of sun. They are all light. It's not one is light, one is not light. Or it's not that one is light, one has addition. They are all light. But what makes them different is the level or the grade or intensity of light. So they are the same in being light, but also they are different because they are different in the degrees of light. In other words, they say ما به الاشتراك هو ما به الاختلاف. Okay? So what is common is being light, but what makes them different is also light, because there is nothing else. It's not that darkness is added to the light which is weaker, because darkness doesn't exist. Yeah? If there are two lights, one is stronger and one is weaker, where does difference come from? Comes from the light again. So must be the level which is different. It's not that you add something to light and then it becomes more or less. Okay? So this idea existed before Mullah Sadra. But Mullah Sadra took it further and brought it to the discussion about wujud. Ishraqiyun, they didn't have asalatul wujud. But Mullah Sadra has asalatul wujud. So now he has to bring these grades into wujud. So Mullah Sadra said, every mahiyya that we have, all these mahiyat in the world, they are wujud, but at the same time they are different degrees of wujud. If there is intensity and weakness between them. If they are in the same level, then that's another issue. For example, two human beings, two horses, two elephants. There is no difference of grade. Their differences are in other things. But the difference between cause and effect, or between something which is higher and something which is lower, are because of the grades. So please look at the beginning of chapter 5. I only read few lines and then we would have a break and we continue. الفصل الخامس في أن الوجود حقيقة واحدة مشككة. Chapter 5 about the fact that existence is a reality which is single and it's graded. اختلف القائلون بأصالة الوجود. Those who are believers in asalatul wujud, they have disagreement about how to explain the differences based on asalatul wujud. Those who don't believe in asalatul wujud, then they have totally different opinion, because they want to justify with mahiyat, and mahiyat are kathir, so it's easy for them. فذهب بعضهم إلى أن الوجود حقيقة واحدة مشككة. Some of them, they have held this idea that wujud is haqiqah, a reality, which is wahida, which is single, and mushakkika, which is coming in grades. Some people say the reason it is called mushakkik because it makes you doubt whether they are from the same reality or not, because they are so different that you think maybe they belong to two different types. وهو المنسوب إلى الفهلويين. This is the opinion which is attributed to Pahlaviyin, which is Pahlavi, but in Arabic there is no P, so they're Pahlavi. من حكماء force. As I said, Sheikh Ishraq many times refer to them, but because Sheikh Ishraq is himself asalatul mahuvi apparently, we don't discuss the idea of Sheikh Ishraq, but it seems that those people who were many times referred to by Sheikh Ishraq had an idea similar to Mullah Sadra. فَالْوُجُودُ عِنْدَهُمْ, according to the ancient philosophers in Persia, existence is like light. Because wujud is ظاهر بذاته مظهر لغيره من الماهيات. Wujud is clear by itself and gives clarity to mahiyat. Wujud is real and gives reality to mahiyat. It's like nur hissi, light which we see. Because light of God, light of angel are not hissi. They are not perceived by our sense. But nur hissi, light of candle, light of star, moon, sun. What is the definition of nur? ظاهر بذاته مظهر لغيره. By itself is clear, and if light is there, then it makes other things also clear. If in this room we didn't have light, we were not clear. So what makes us clear is light. So light is ظاهر بذاته مظهر لغيره. So light, which is hissi, which can be sensed, like the physical light, is clear by itself and makes other things clear. And he says other things, al-ajsamul kathifa. Kathifa doesn't mean, in Farsi kathif means dirty, but in Arabic kathif means thick, because light is very light, and then other things are thick, means they are not transparent, they are not clear. So it is light that makes other things, other objects clear. So كما أن النور الحسي نوع واحد, in the same way that the physical light is one type, and the reality of it is that it is ظاهر بذاته مظهر لغيره, and this can be found in all different levels and degrees and ranks of light. And nur shadid, shadidun fi nuriyate, the light which is strong in light. In being light it is strong, not in something else. And nur dhaif, dhaifun fi nuriyate, the one which is weak is also, so ma bihil ishtirak and ma bil ikhtilaf are the same. They are the same in being light, but they are also different in light. Yes. فَلَيْسَتْ شِدَّةُ الشَّدِيدِ مِنْهُ جُزْءًا مُقَوِّمًا لِلنُّورِيَّةِ. So the intensity is not part of the light, because if intensity is part of the light, the one which was weak was not light. Yeah? If you say light is 100 degree, so then the one which is 90 degree is not light. If you say light is 90 degree, then the one which is 100 is not light alone. It's light on something else. So, to be 100 degree or 90 degree or 1 degree, these are not added to the light. So they have one nature, one essence, and that is light, but they have it in different levels. فَلَيْسَتْ شِدَّةُ الشَّدِيدِ مِنْهُ جُزْءًا مُقَوِّمًا لِلنُّورِ. The intensity is not something which is essential, which is part of what makes light light. It's not muqawwim. It doesn't make light light. So that then we can say the weak light is not light. Because if this strength was part of the essence of light, then the one which is weak doesn't have this. وَلَا أَرَضًا خَارِجًا عَنِ الْحَقِيقَةِ. It's not essential and it's not coming as an araz, as an accident. So the weakness of the light which is weak doesn't make it less light. And the strength doesn't make it more light. Is it clear? ليس ضعف الضعيف قادحا في نوريته is not causing a problem for being light when it is weak. And it's not that it is a mixture of light and darkness. Because darkness is not real. Darkness is actually darkness is absent, or if it is weak light, we call it dark. بل شدة الشديد في أصل النورية وكذا ضعف الضعيف. The weakness and strength both are in نورية, in being light. فالنور للنور عرض عريض. So light has a wide spectrum. Yeah? In different intensity. باعتبار مراتبه المختلفة بالشدة والضعف. It has different levels in weakness and intensity. ولكل مرتبة عرض عريض باعتبار الغلط. So we have different degrees of light, and then each degree can be found in different objects. So one grade of light then projected on desk, on book, on paper, on clothes. So qawabel, those things which accept light, those things on which you project light, also different. So 1 degree of light, many objects. Second degree of light, many objects. Okay? So you have 2 types of diversity. Diversity because of the diversity in the degrees of light, and diversity in those things that light is projected on them. They have become recipients of light. كذلك الوجود. Similar to this is also wujud. So, shall we have a little break and then we continue? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.